Al-Kashshāf and Ḥaqāʻiq at-Tanzīl, the Unveiler of the Realities of Revelation, by Imam Jar Allah, al-Zamakhsharī, died 538, Hijri 1144, CE. Translation by Muhammad Al-Amrani. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful.
Introduction.
In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. All praise is due to God, who sent down the Qur'an as a discourse divinely composed and ordered, revealing it gradually according to what wisdom required, commencing it with praise and concluding it with the seeking of refuge. He revealed it in two parts, the allegorical and the clear, and he divided it into surahs and fortified it with verses. He distinguished between them with divisions and ultimate purposes. And these are naught but the attributes of a beginner, an originator, and the marks of a producer, an inventor. So glory be to him who has reserved for himself precedence and eternity, and has marked everything other than himself with the stamp of being brought forth from nothingness. He brought it forth as a book whose message shines brightly, whose proof is decisive, a living revelation speaking with clear signs and arguments, an Arabic Qur'an, wherein there is no crookedness, 39-28, a key to all benefits, both spiritual and temporal, confirming what came before it of the heavenly scriptures. It is an enduring miracle, beyond every other miracle, for all time, circulating among all other books, upon every tongue, in every place. With it he silenced those of the purest Arabs who were called upon to challenge it, and with it he struck dumb the most masterful of orators who were defied by it. Thus not one of their masters of eloquence dared to bring forth aught that might equal or even approach it. Nor did any of their virtuosos of speech rise to the measure of its shortest surah, even though they were more numerous than the pebbles of the valley and greater in number than the sands of the desert. Not a single nerve of their tribal pride twitched within them, despite their being famed for their excess in opposition and rivalry, for casting their full weight into contention and strife, for facing perils to defend their honour, and for their extremism in all that they pursued. If one came to them with a point of pride, they would come forth with many more. And if one assailed them with a noble deed, they would assail him with a multitude of noble deeds. Yet he presented them first with the argument and last with the sword, and they challenged naught but the sword alone. For indeed the sharpest sword is but a trifler's toy, if the argument does not sharpen its edge. They turned away from challenging the argument only because they knew that the ocean had surged, overwhelming the stars in its depths, and that the sun had risen, extinguishing the light of the celestial spheres. And may blessings and peace be upon the best of all to whom revelation was granted, the beloved of God, Abul Qasim, Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Abd al-Muttalib ibn Hashim, bearer of the exalted banner among the sons of Lu'ay, and of the lofty branch among the clan of Abd Manaf ibn Qusay. He who was affirmed by divine protection, supported by wisdom, of the radiant brow and luminous grace, the unlettered prophet, who is mentioned in the Torah and the Gospel, and upon his pure family and his successors from among his sons-in-law and kinsmen by marriage, and upon all the emigrants and the helpers. Know that in the body of every science and the pillar of every craft, the ranks of the learned are close, and the steps of the craftsmen are near to one another or equal. If one scholar surpasses another, he surpasses him but by a slight margin. If one artisan precedes another, he precedes him but by a short distance. But that wherein the ranks diverge, wherein caravans compete, wherein the race and the contest occur, and wherein the disparity and distinction become immense, until the matter reaches a distance far beyond imagination, and ascends to the point where one is counted as 1,000, is what lies within the sciences and crafts of the gems of subtle points and elegant expressions, of the subtleties of meaning wherein the inquiries of thought become intricate, and of the profound mysteries veiled behind curtains, which none but the most unique and select of the elite may unveil, none but their very heart and essence. As for the common folk, they are blind to the perception of their realities with their own eyes, bound in the hands of imitation, never to be graced with the cutting of their forelocks and their release. Then, indeed, the most abundant of sciences with that which overwhelms the intellect, and the most potent in dazzling the keenest of minds, are the unique subtleties whose path is delicate, and the hidden repositories of secrets whose thread is fine, the science of exegesis, at-Tafsir. The pursuit and profound contemplation of this science cannot be perfected by every possessor of knowledge, as Al-Jahiz mentioned in his book on the composition of the Qur'an. For the jurist, though he may surpass his peers in the science of legal verdicts and rulings, and the theologian, though he may excel the people of the world in the art of dialectics, and the keeper of tales and histories, though he be more retentive than Ibn al-Qiriyah, and the preacher, though he be more eloquent in exhortation than Al-Hasan al-Basri, and the grammarian, though he be more masterful in grammar than Sibawayh, and the lexicographer, though he may chew upon languages with the strength of his jaws, not one of them may venture to traverse those paths. Nor may he dive for any of those truths, save for a man who has excelled in two sciences particular to the Qur'an, namely the science of semantics, ilm al-Ma'an, and the science of eloquence, ilm al-Bayan. He must have lingered in their pursuit for a time, and toiled in their exploration for ages. He must have been spurred on to trace their sources by a passion to know the subtleties of God's proof, and a yearning to clarify the miracle of God's messenger, after having taken a share from all other sciences combining two matters, deep investigation and vast retention. He must be one of extensive reading, of long and frequent consultation, who has returned to the subject and to whom the subject has returned, who has contended and been contended with, a champion in the science of syntax, a forerunner among the bearers of the book. And with all that he must be of a supple and yielding nature, of a brilliant and fiery intellect, of a vigilant soul, discerning of a fleeting hint, however subtle its import, and attentive to an allusion, however hidden its place, neither stiff and hard, nor coarse and uncouth. He must be versatile, possessing mastery of the styles of prose and poetry, practised and not a novice in the insemination of the daughters of thought, having learned how to arrange and compose speech, and how to order and set it forth, having long been driven into its narrow passes, and having fallen into its slippery and treacherous grounds. And I have seen our brethren in faith, from among the most virtuous of the saved group, the partisans of divine justice, who combine knowledge of the Arabic tongue with the principles of religion. Whenever they would turn to me for the exegesis of a verse, and I would bring forth for them some of the realities from behind their veils, they would abound in admiration and wonder, and be stirred with longing for a work that would encompass aspects of that. They finally gathered and proposed to me that I should dictate to them the unveiling of the truths of revelation, and the fountains of sayings concerning the facets of interpretation. I sought to be excused, but they refused, insisting and seeking the intercession of the great men of faith and the scholars of justice and divine unity. That which drove me to seek excuse, though I knew that to grant their request was an obligation upon me, for delving into this matter is like an individual duty, was what I saw of the age, the shabbiness of its state, the mediocrity of its men, and the falling short of their ambitions from the lowest rungs of this science, let alone ascending to a discourse founded upon the two sciences of semantics and eloquence. So I dictated to them a treatise on the opening letters of the surahs, and a portion of discourse on the truths of Surat al-Baqarah. It was an expansive discourse, with many questions and answers long in its trailing robes and hems. I intended by it only to draw attention to the abundance of subtleties in this science, and that it might be for them a beacon towards which they could strive, and an example they could emulate. But when my resolve was fixed to return to the vicinity of God, and to take up abode in the sanctuary of God, and I set my face toward Mecca, I found in every land through which I passed that those who possessed any refinement, and how few they are, had hearts thirsty to come upon that dictated work, yearning for its company, and eager to draw light from it. What I saw stirred my sympathy and moved the stillness of my spirit. When I finally set down my pack in Mecca, I found there the sublime branch of the Hassanid tree, the noble emir and imam, the honour of the family of God's messenger, Abul Hassan al-Ibn Hamza ibn Wahas, may God perpetuate his glory, who is the beauty mark and ornament among the Banu al-Hassan, despite their many virtues and abundant merits. His heart was the most thirsty, his soul the most inflamed, and his desire the most complete. He even mentioned that during my absence from the Hijaz, despite being occupied with a multitude of pressing matters, he had contemplated crossing the deserts and traversing the wilderness to come to us in Khwarizm, so that he might attain this purpose. So I said to myself, the means of excuse have narrowed, and the justifications have failed me. I saw that age had taken its toll on me. The old waterskin had begun to rattle, and I was approaching the decade which the Arabs have named the neck-breaker. Thus I embarked upon a path more concise than the first, while guaranteeing an increase of benefits and an examination of its hidden treasures. And God granted success and guidance, and it was completed in a period equivalent to the caliphate of Abu Bakr al-Siddiq. May God be pleased with him, though it had been estimated that its completion would take more than 30 years. This is naught but a sign among the signs of this sacred house, and a blessing poured upon me from the blessings of this august sanctuary. I ask God to make the toil I have expended upon it a means of my salvation, and a light for me upon the bridge, that shall run before me and on my right hand. And how excellent is he who is asked!